Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Daily Thread. My father is still over there in Israel, it's been pretty rainy over there, no?
Off and on. The first few days were pretty nice. I'd say today was the rainiest day. But there's been patches of hope, patches of blue sky. And I think actually, as we speak, even though it's getting dark here now, I saw there was like a torrential downpour and this large, humongous thunderstorm with lightning. And then that was like,
Really?
that was like waving goodbye, when there's a thunderstorm.
When are you leaving?
Tomorrow night. When there's a thunderstorm or a lightning storm in Israel, it's not just a thunderstorm or a lightning storm, It's usually something right out of, you think maybe it's like out of the movie The Ten Commandments or, it's something like from Hollywood. But no, we're here in Israel. And what can I tell you? I think the thunder and the lightning is more serious in Jerusalem than it is in Monticello, or Fallsburg during the summer. I mean, you got some really big thunderstorms in the summertime. What can I tell you? We generally, over the last many years, come here, hopefully when there's no pandemic, a couple of times a year. Usually in the winter, around this time of year, Hanukkah time, which is booming here. And then in the summertime, usually in July, And in the summer, it's very, very hot. It's so hot that you feel like your skin's going to burn off. And in the winter, you can get lucky with some good weather. Or you get like this rainy day. Like I told the guy at the Waldorf the other day that, we're praying for rain here. Sometimes God takes us too seriously. Because both
or just as serious as he should. I do want to say I apologize for the mess behind me. Anyone who's watching, we're in the middle of just shipping out a lot of stuff from my office.
Is that what that is?
For all those who email us saying, "Oh, there's a lot of boxes," don't worry, it'll be cleaned up at some point. But I do want to segue into our first story for today, which is the frigid weather in the New York area over the weekend. I know you weren't here, but Shabbos had highs of 10 degrees.
Wow.
Some places were in the negatives, certainly with the windshield. So yeah, it was absolutely freezing. So I guess our first story I'll say is, frigid monster storm across the U.S. claims at least 30 lives.
Wow.
This story via Yeshiva World. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said that 12 deaths have been confirmed in the state from the massive winter storm that battered the United States over the holiday weekend, snarling travel and knocking out power to tens of thousands across the country. The deaths were announced in snowbound Erie County as utility workers and National Guard troops continue to work to restore power after western New York was blasted by what officials have said was the region's longest sustained blizzard ever. Hochul called the storm devastating.
That's where she's from.
Yeah, I mean, generally Buffalo got hit with a lot of snow.
Yeah, they always do. She's from Buffalo, and they got. I saw this morning on Fox News that 40 states in the country had freezing temperatures.
And of course, of course, the story that most applicable to the Jewish people, to the Jewish world, is that of Woodcliff Lake Hilton, where 800 guests over Shabbos had to check out early because a main pipe burst on the fourth floor.
Right.
Some videos from this are just like crazy. You see the water on the lobby. We've been in that hotel many times. Right. And I'll just read over here. It says, a hotel in Woodcliff Lake, New Jersey, rented out for about 800 guests celebrating Shabbos Hanukkah, had to be evacuated after a pipe burst, leaving guests in frigid temperatures. Rachel Natsal and Chaverim rushed to the Hilton of Woodcliff Lake immediately after the Zman on Motzei Shabbos to assist the guests, with Chaverim providing multiple school buses allowing guests to remain warm and out of the frigid weather.
Really?
Woodcliff Lake had a real field temperature below 0 degrees Fahrenheit Motzei Shabbos. The official said that the pipe burst on the fourth floor of the Hilton. It caused a massive leak and caused all heating structures to be turned off.
Wow.
A concert that was planned for Motzei Shabbos and activities that were scheduled Sunday had to be canceled.
Who was gonna?
Well, listen. First off,
who's gonna do the concert?
I think it was Joey Newcomb, but I'm not sure. But first off, Baruch Hashem, everyone's okay.
Right.
Everyone is okay. And you know what? I saw this was on the news. I think it was on ABC or something, and they interviewed a a few Jewish people, and one of them said very correctly, he said, listen, at least this happened towards the end of Shabbos, because had this happened on Friday night, you'd have a situation where you have to have 800 guests, as a sakana being put on buses on Shabbos to be brought somewhere else.
Well, we've been through situations like that. Remember, there was a Shabbos morning fire once in the Homewack Hotel. I don't know if you were there. Were you there then? I don't know if you were there.
I was there. I was there for multiple fires.
Well, I remember there was a Shabbos Nachmu fire one morning, and it's Shabbos morning, and the buses were coming from all the Hasidic camps, from every direction,
with kugel,
every direction possible. They were coming with fruit drinks and with chocolate and with kugel, and people couldn't go back to their rooms, so they were taking down lists of medications and being in touch.
Yeah, I remember that.
All rules get suspended because there's an emergency, and everyone has a different kind of situation that they're dealing with. And the guy who said that, they're very fortunate that whatever happened at the end of Shabbos is right on target.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Well, it's really crazy. First of all, I can't imagine the expense that this is going to cost a hotel to replace that pipe. It's probably very expensive. I don't know if anybody's really thinking about that, but that just shows how cold it actually was. The office building that we're in in Cedarhurst right now also had pipe burst.
Oh, yeah?
And I think most of the building is without heat right now.
Really?
But I don't know if the water. Yeah, I don't know if the water is working. But it was so cold, and it was so cold that it caused a lot of issues in a lot of places. And I will say that Friday, I know the Five Towns specifically. I don't know if this applies everywhere else, but Friday we experienced some serious flooding.
I saw that. I saw a video of that.
Which some blocks were really knee high in water. Cars were destroyed.
Right, I saw that.
I went down pretty quickly, but it did wreak a lot of havoc. So a little bit of a crazy weather weekend. Again, very glad the people in Woodcliff Lake were all okay.
Right.
I did hear from someone that already like Friday night, maybe the heat wasn't working too well. Some rooms were really? 40 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So, listen.
I hear you.
I feel like.
Well, let me tell you, Shabbos Hanukkah was spectacular here. It was in the 50s. Not warmer than it was Miami Beach, but.
Yeah, I heard and Miami also is experiencing some cold weather. People don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah, I saw this morning. It's 7 hours ahead here, but I just saw an hour or two ago in Boynton Beach, Florida, it was 44 degrees this morning. So that takes.
I don't know. I think you just sell your place there.
I don't even know if we have heat in the place there. I know we have air conditioning. I guess you set the thermostat to 78, and I guess it blows hot air. I guess instead of cold air.
I wouldn't rely on that, but maybe.
I hope. I guess we'll find out in a few weeks. But we had a spectacular weekend here. A beautiful Shabbos in the streets of Yerushalayim, and let me see who's calling me. Oh, okay. And beautiful Friday night davening, and Shabbos morning at davening at the Tzemach Tzedek Shul and the Old City in Jerusalem.
How was?
It was very nice. A lot of the old folks that I've been davening with off and on for the last 33 years when my father's yard site lands on the Shabbos, which, can happen. I'm not sure it happened last year, but it definitely happened. Maybe it happened. No, it was last year. No, last year didn't happen, but 2 years ago, it also landed on a Shabbos. And I really think, I don't know how the calendar works really, but it really should go on a 7-year rotation. So it's enough if it comes out on Shabbos once every 7 years.
Is there someone you could speak to about that to make sure? I don't know. Who can you speak to?
The people that manufacture the calendars, I think, have to be spoken to. Look,
God.
Today's December 26th, and the banks and the post office is closed. So there's somebody in charge of moving them.
I think the Jewish calendar works a little different.
Moving these holidays around. Well, the Jewish calendar, if Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos, you fast on Sunday.
I feel like, by the way, that's it's such an interesting point. Today is not Christmas, and the bank is closed, and the whole world is acting as if it is. How does that work?
Well, a lot of yeshivas are closed today too because it's the 8th day of Hanukkah, right?
Okay, well that makes sense.
So
it's always closed.
Are they closed on Christmas or not? What yeshiva closes on Christmas?
Ooh, Mm.
I know that in Washington Heights, in that community, they were always closed on these types of holidays out of respect to the non-Jews. They thought that it was a offensive to secular.
The yeshivas?
Yeah, the yeshivas up there in those communities, they always. I remember years ago, I became aware of the fact that they close out of respect on New Year's and Christmas. Well, it could be you're disrespecting people.
Well, they have non-Jewish teachers, and they're not coming in
No,
to
I'm not talking
teach.
about that.
First,
I'm talking about besides the fact that they don't want to impose on the teachers, the public school teachers that may not be Jewish or may not be observant, that don't want to come in to work. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about from the point of view of civility. You have a national holiday that's observed nationally by the 98% of the country, and you're gonna send your yellow school buses around to pick up kids at the bus
yeah, I
stop.
mean, well, I don't think that's a good reason for Bittul Torah.
Okay, but I'm not saying that's the reason. I'm just saying that some people's reason is not the intent is not to not learn Torah, and most of the yeshivas that we're familiar with, of course, do have schools.
Doesn't matter what the intent is. It matters what's happening.
No, the point is, if you're living with non-Jews in a non-Jewish world, a non-Jewish country, which is predominantly
Where does that apply? Because in the 5 towns it's predominantly Jewish, and in Muncie it's predominantly Jewish, in Lakewood it's predominantly Jewish. So where does that apply?
It applies in the United States in general. I'll tell you where it doesn't apply. It doesn't apply here in Israel. Here in Israel, you can hardly even have a hint that there's anything called Christmas. There was no hint about it yesterday, and certainly no hint today.
Speaking of Israel, I see this title via JNS. The Shin Bet foils a Palestinian bomb plot targeting inside Israel. The Shin Bet Domestic Intelligence Agency announced on Monday, which is today, that it thwarted a Palestinian terrorist bomb plot and a separate suicide bombing targeting areas inside Green Line, Israel, involving operatives from Judea and Samaria who were directed by handlers from the Gaza Strip. A working bomb hidden in a fire extinguisher was seized.
Really?
According to the Shin Bet, a joint investigation with the Israeli Defense Forces saw the plot foiled on December 14th, and that the Popular Resistance Committees directed it together with the Shuhada al-Aqsa, both of them terrorist organizations based in the Gaza Strip. 4 suspected terror operatives from Judea and Samaria are under arrest, the Shin Bet announced.
That's a scary story, but
that's very scary.
Listen,
no more fire extinguishers.
The people here, basically the Arabs and the Jews that I came in contact with, people who work in the hotel, most of the cab drivers we had were Arabs, I'll tell you, and most are very very friendly. There's a big difference between the Arab cab drivers and the Jewish cab drivers. The Arab cab drivers are always, trying to hustle you for more money.
Oh, really?
They tell you,
the Israelis aren't?
So the Israelis are more amenable to putting a meter on, and whatever the meter says at the end of the ride, you pay them. When you want to give them a tip, you give them a tip. But the Arab cab drivers, some of them are very nice. Some of them really with gentlemen. But they all have a story, You can't go this way because of the traffic. The meter's not working. This is not working. That's not working. And so it's going to cost you anywhere from a 30 shekel ride. They'll charge you 100 shekel for. But that's just the hustle of the business. And they know that know that it's Hanukkah, and they know that it's the holiday season, and they know the place is booming with people. And where we're sitting right now is a tourist area. So I think the same thing happens in Times Square. People from Oklahoma that are visiting Times Square are going into a yellow taxi. Believe me, some of them are paying $100 just to get down around the corner.
Yeah, it could be. I had somebody in my office the other week fixing one of my phone screens, and he was Muslim. And we were talking, and I said, "Oh, so we're cousins." And at first he thought I was saying I'm cousins with his boss. I'm like, "No, me and you, we're cousins."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, we're cousins." Yeah. He's like, and everyone who says about hatred, anyone who says about the Jews and Arabs hate each other, they don't know. They don't know what they don't follow what our what the Quran says. They don't follow what we're supposed to be. I said, "Do you care about your family? And if they care about their family, then they don't fight with the Jews." And I was like, "Yeah, thank you."
Well, I think the people here, most the rank and file people, the everyday people that are bringing up families here and that have jobs here. They want to live in peace. I believe it's the leadership that's corrupt, that became billionaires from being corrupt, that want to sustain a threatening situation that's going to explode into war. I mean, there's a crazy situation going on now with the government. The government will probably be sworn in sometime this week, and there's all kinds of threats. Like you have Itamar Ben-Gvir, who's the public security minister, which means that he's in charge of the police. So the Jerusalem Post reports today that a group of rabbis in America, mostly conservative, reform, and Reconstructionist rabbis, said they're not going to invite any of the religious parties, members of Knesset, to come speak in the United States. So,
no problem.
So the response to that was from Ben-Gvir: even if they invite us, we're not going. We don't want to speak to them.
Yeah.
We don't want to speak to their. We don't want to speak. We don't want to go anyway. We don't want to speak to them. So
it's like you can't fire me. I quit. The final story that I have for today is from the news. Migrants dropped near VP Harris's home on a frigid night.
Yeah, I read about that.
3 buses of recent migrant families arrived from Texas near the home of Vice President Kamala Harris in record-setting cold on Christmas Eve. Texas authorities have not confirmed their involvement, but the bus drop-offs are in line with previous actions by border state governors, calling attention to the Biden administration's immigration policies. The buses that arrived late Saturday outside the vice president's residency were carrying around 110 to 130 people. According to the Tatiana Laborde, managing director of SAMU First Response, a relief agency working with the city of Washington to serve thousands of migrants who have been dropped off in recent months. Local organizer had expected the buses to arrive Sunday, but found Saturday that the group would get to Washington early. Laborde said the people on board included young children. And some of them were wearing T-shirts, and temperatures were around 15 degrees, which negative 9 degrees Celsius. It was the coldest Christmas Eve on record. And people are saying it was inhumane that they were dropped off in front of Kamala Harris's house. And we have a video, so I guess we'll show it right over here.
Well, it is an uncivilized situation, unfortunately, and the Biden administration has presided over absolute chaos for the last 2 years at the southern border, and it's only going to get worse.
Well, who's sending them to the vice president's house? Who's doing that?
Well, they're sending them to sanctuary cities. New York and Washington have prided themselves.
One second. It's a political.
They prided themselves in being a sanctuary city. You know what a sanctuary city is? It means
that immigrants,
no matter whether you're here legally or not, we are going to protect you.
Okay, but being dropped off outside the Kamala Harris's house when it's like 5 degrees outside, that's not exactly. That seems like a political pawn move, and you're using humans.
I'm sure the bus was heated. And I'm sure it was a problem when they got out of the bus. They should have had.
Yeah.
The vice president should have been prepared with jackets, and sweaters for them. It could be done.
Well, that's not the vice president's job.
Yeah, but she's the vice president, and she is the border czar. She was appointed almost 2 years ago by Biden to oversee immigration. She hasn't been to the border.
Who is sending these migrants to? Who's doing?
Where they come from? They came from Texas.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Texas is getting 7,000 migrants a day crossing the border. And
so you're saying, what are they supposed to do? And
they're just sharing some of the people who want to actually come to Washington. They have relatives there.
All I'm saying is, like, I agree with I hear the immigration issue that the Democrats are let's let everybody in, but to be honest, they're just coming to Texas, and Texas, which is a blue state, has to deal with which is a red state, has to deal with it. But like it's 5 degrees outside. You're supposed to just ship.
My grandparents were immigrants. You're great.
We're all immigrants.
We're immigrants, and they came from European countries, but they came here with a seder. They came here legally. They came here lawfully. They came here with some kind of an organization with paperwork, not just show up. Hello, here we are. give us everything, give us jobs, give us money, give us a place to live, give us food to eat.
Yeah, but we've also been turned away during the Holocaust. Boats of Jews have been turned away during the Holocaust and sent back to their death. And I wonder what the Jewish stance is on immigration, because we wish that the United States had taken us in at that time.
Well,
or other countries. They didn't.
You can't say what the Jewish stance is. That's a very complex issue. What are you talking about? Morally, ethically,
what's the Torah's perspective?
halachically?
What's the Torah's perspective on immigration?
Well, listen, you're supposed to be kind to strangers. So certainly, from that perspective, you have to be kind to strangers and take care of. You don't shut the door on them. But we have.
All I'm saying is that just because a lot of from Jews are Republicans, it doesn't mean that they have to agree with Republicans across the party line and also adopt their immigration views, because those same immigration views would probably never allow us to be here in America nowadays.
Nachi, you know a lot of from Jews that are Democrats. I know the Democrats that voted for Joe Biden.
I think it's a minority.
But listen, though, I think it's not a minority, but it's not a small minority. And they have large homes, many of them. There's plenty of room in there. Do you know anybody that took in any Venezuelans? You know,
I hear, and all I'm saying
you have an extra room in your apartment. You could fit a couple of people in there from South America, I think.
I'm not. First of all, you could give your whole entire house. I can go open the door right now. Maybe they should start dropping them off on Sunset Road instead of in Washington, and we can start letting them in.
Well, listen, they want to. There are many places that they could. That's why they dropped them off in front of Kamala Harris's house, because she has a lot of room there. It's just her and her husband there. And if they were in such desperate need, they should have let them in.
Let me ask you straight up: what do you think should be happening with the immigrants? Do you think? I think
there has to be a meeting of the minds. There has to be a legal process that's orderly. Immigrants always came into the United States of America. You could arguably say immigrants built this country. We're children and grandchildren. 100%. We're children and grandchildren of immigrants. America is a melting pot. But this is not immigration. This is chaos.
This is chaos only because of the way we're reacting to it, is what I'm saying.
No, this is chaos
because we're not trying to find a solution. We're trying to play ping pong with human beings right now, and we're just trying to use them as political pawns. That's what's happening.
Well, so what do you recommend? What do you suggest how we go about it? This Title 42 is going to be dropped in about a week or so, unless something unusual happens, and you're going to have 15,000 people crossing the border every single day coming into the United States. That's 100,000 people a week.
I think we're talking about two extremes, unfortunately. The Republicans don't want anybody coming in, and the Democrats want everybody coming in. And there needs to be, like you said, a meeting of the minds, and it has to be done in a certain way that it works for everybody. But to just have people come in and then drop them off and ship them in T-shirts to, and when it's 5 degrees outside, and to use people as pawns to represent your political view is not humane. It's not what we do. I don't think it's a Jewish perspective. I don't think it's a Torah perspective. And I think as a country, we could do better. That's it. I think that we have to stop playing games like this. It's silly.
Listen, it's obviously a politically motivated situation, but they're trying to get a message across. If Washington,
I know, but don't get you don't get a message across with other people's lives.
If Washington D.C. can't deal with 100 immigrants coming in on a Saturday afternoon, how is El Paso, Texas, supposed to deal with 7,000 people crossing the border every day?
So why didn't?
And there's no reaction from the Biden administration. They just ignore it. They neglect it.
Right, but if it were Jewish people that were being sent like that, we would be outraged. I'm sure the Aguda would get involved, and every organization that is existing would get involved. We wouldn't be okay with it, and it's not okay, because people cannot be used as just like objects to push a certain idea. So I think that's my stance on it.
Well, we did get involved with the Ukrainian refugees when the war started last February. In Russia, and
the Americans didn't.
No, our Jewish community raised millions of dollars to help get Ukrainian Jews out of the Ukraine and get them.
We weren't okay with just them being displaced. The same way we wouldn't be okay if a bunch of Jews arrived in El Paso and were bussed and left outside in Washington in 5-degree weather. We wouldn't be okay with that. We would say it's a human right issue. Like, you can't just do that.
Well, we
know?
need to obviously we need to care for one another and take care of one another, but it has to be done sensibly. And
Agreed.
just like Texas may have a political motivation for sending immigrants up to New York and to Washington, the Democrats, the Biden administration, also has a political motivation behind having it functioning in such a chaotic way. Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
going out to eat. It's my last night in Jerusalem tonight. We're heading back. We're heading
Enjoy.
back to New York tomorrow night. So we're going to go to what's it called? No, what's the name of the musica?
Kikar
Kikar
Musica.
Musica. Yeah, Kikar Musica.
Nice.
So
Enjoy.
hopefully they'll have some heat there and over the tables because it's a little bit chilly outside. It's not New York kind of
Hmm.
cold, but it's a winter here in Jerusalem, and we'll report back to you tomorrow.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for listening and watching the Daily Thread for today. Please go ahead and leave a review, a rating. We greatly appreciate that. Please remember to subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the WhatsApp status account. The link is in the description of the show notes. And of course, you can send us an email to thedailythread@meaningfulmen.org. We will see you tomorrow.